G'day everybody, Chaotic here. As you've probably already seen, the Arc 2 trailer's dropped, and there's a familiar face within it. Vin Diesel. He's playing a character named Santiago. So who is he? Well, to start off, we need to go all the way back to the Aberration Explorer notes. In Diana's log, number 4 on Aberration is where Santiago is first mentioned. The more the camp's grown, the more tense things have become with the Fetties. So today, I decided to break the ice. Whatever's happening between the United Republics of Earth and the Terran Federation and the rest of the world doesn't matter. We're all in this together, right? Of course, with my dumb luck, I didn't make nice with just any old Fetty. I unknowingly buddied up to Santiago. Yeah, as in Santiago that's so famous he's only got one name. As in the guy who hacked into Yuri Command one day and reversed engineered our latest tech armor. Yeah, that's Santiago. Turns out he's really into pop music. Super disappointed he's missing the new season of Yuri Idol. Turns out, he's really good with making tech suits. As we read in Deanna's log, number 6. Oh baby, did I miss real speed. And the sky missed you too, beautiful. That prototype jetpack might not compare to my fighter, but the rush I got was way better than I'd hoped. Guess I've been stuck here for longer than I thought. Santiago's been joking about how much I owe him, but he's more right than he knows. I promised to bring him some music for the ride back to civilization. Least I can do for that little nerd. The full set of armor should be done by next week, and it's finally showtime. It wasn't long before they hit a snag in Deanna's log, number 7. So much for that. Less than a day after I set out, my mission hit a wall. Or more specifically, an invisible energy barrier that extends around this entire area. Definitely my bottom 10 landings of all time. By the way, my shoulder's still feeling it. Once I reported back, I took Santiago to inspect the barrier. He thinks it's also the culprit that's responsible for jamming our long-range signals. So, basically, as long as this barrier exists, we have no way to reach the outside world. We're completely isolated. Unless, of course, we find a way to take it down. Things are about to get interesting here in the next few of Diana's logs. So let's go over them. Number 8. We finally found our target. Apparently those 3 obelisks on the horizon are attached to some crazy teleportation tech, and each one is linked to a 4th signal high above us. Whatever's up there is what we need to take out. Santiago says he can get us there by bypassing the security on one of those obelisk platforms. Trouble is, we don't know what'll be waiting for us, and not everyone here's combat ready. So, we're gonna take the diplomatic approach and make our mysterious host a present. The leaders don't want to risk spoiling the surprise, so we're discreetly building it in pieces. The whole bomb won't even be assembled until the minute the operation starts. Our captors won't know what hit them. Number 9. Months of planning and a squad of guys armed to the teeth, and the biggest homemade bomb you've ever seen, and we still weren't prepared. How could we be? I don't think anyone could have been ready for that insane shape-shifting whatever it was. It attacked us as soon as we carted the package to the center of the platform. We were getting taken out so fast we just set the bomb on a short fuse and made a break for it. Less than half of us managed to dive off the platform in time, and I could feel the heat of the explosion as I fell. If I hadn't stabilized Santiago on the way down, he'd have been paced too. Of course, with everything that's been happening since we blew up that platform, we all might be screwed anyway. Number 10. Things have gone sideways in a hurry, and I mean seriously foobar. Destroying that platform didn't just weaken the barrier trapping us here, it took out the whole freaking sky. At least the giant hologram that was posing as it. So yeah, it turns out this entire landmass and everything on it is orbiting the Earth like some kind of artificial space island. Wild, right? I'd appreciate the sheer insanity of that a lot more if this place didn't feel like it was falling apart. We're taking all that we can carry and making a break for that cave system we discovered a while back. If the atmosphere's thicker underground, then we've got a shot of pulling through. Number 11. Looks like we made it just in time. I backtracked to take a peek at the surface, and it's just one big fire. That's not a metaphor. I mean, it's actually burning. Number 13. I always knew Santiago would come up with a new plan. His taste in pop idols might be questionable, but if anyone can figure this place out, it's him. After studying the obelisk in depth, he's convinced that he can design an amped up version of their teleportation tech that can connect to more distant platforms. Specifically, it would be able to lock onto a signal we discovered a few weeks ago, one that's on a slightly different frequency than all the other obelisks that we've detected. More importantly, it's far, far away from any of them. The scale of this would be massive. We're talking years of work, but everyone agrees that it's our best move. The Gateway project is officially underway. So, Santiago is partly responsible for the destruction of the Aberration Ark, and creating the teleportation ring that he used to escape to Earth after defeating Rockwell. But his story doesn't end there, and during the project, Helena and Rockwell show up to Aberration from Scorched Earth. Learning of the plan to get off the broken Ark, Helena has a grave warning for them. I have to convince them to stop. There's no way the station will allow this. This place will never allow anyone to master it. If it weren't for Raya's warning, I'd be ecstatic about what they were creating. A gateway that can help us escape the station and reach the planet below? It's brilliant, but the Obelisk will kill everyone here before we can complete it, just like they destroyed the village Raya told me about. I'm sure of it. After some convincing, Helena, Mei Ying, and Santiago go to the surface to investigate Helena's claims. Number 14. Santiago's still going over his readings from last night, but even without them it seems clear that the obelisk was behaving oddly. It was pulsing wildly and the ground beneath it received regular tremors, as if the whole station was on the verge of tearing itself apart. If the obelisk goes off, it could mean Armageddon for every living thing here. Despite this, Santiago is insisting on analyzing his readings. The scientist in me is proud of his dedication to the hard evidence. But the part of me that would rather not be obliterated by a mysterious high-tech space station really wishes he would hurry the hell up. Number 15. We shared our findings with the village by radio. Santiago's analysis confirmed what I suspected. The obelisks are highly unstable. They could be days away from reacting. However, Santiago raised a good point. Even if the Gateway project is shut down, we can't say for sure that it would stabilize the obelisk. It may be too late to dissuade the station from destroying the village. The only way to ensure our survival is to shut down the obelisks themselves. According to Santiago, we can't do that from the obelisk platform. But he may be able to manipulate said platforms into teleporting us somewhere we could, specifically into the heart of the station itself. It's a huge risk, but it may be the only option we have. 16. I can't believe it. We actually made it. We're inside the station. There's a platform here that Santiago was able to lock onto. Perhaps it was used while the station was being built. The architecture here is similar to that of the control center I encountered before. A jagged cavern of metal, lit by an unearthly blue glow. There's a constant hum all around us, likely from the power being sent to all areas of the station. Hopefully Santiago is able to find a map on that console he's been messing with. Then all we have to do is find a control room, shut down the obelisk. Simple, right? 17. As we made our way deeper into the station, we passed through a massive chamber. It was so vast that I couldn't see the bottom of it from the bridge we were on. Yet it was packed full. From wall to wall, it was filled with specimen tubes, each containing creatures, fetuses, or eggs. I knew from the holograms that I had seen on the island's control center that each station created its own creatures, but I never seen where the process actually occurred. There was a specimen for every creature that lived on the station, from dinosaurs to huge alien-looking monsters. I would have loved to get more data from the room's consoles, but, you know, after reading that aloud, I think Mei Ying was right. The idea really does sound stupid and dangerous. Good call. 18. Ever since I saw those strange holograms in the island's control center, I considered this possibility in the back of my mind. But I wasn't prepared to confront it, not directly. The room was similar to the one with creatures, if much smaller. Specimen tubes lined the walls in neat rows and columns. These all held the same species, Homo sapiens. They weren't clones, exactly, at least not of each other. Each one was unique, and they were all adults. I suppose I came from somewhere like this too. Designed in that control center and then created in this factory. Does that mean my memories, they're all transplants? Fake? No. Impossible. They're too vivid, too detailed. Maybe somehow this station can reach back in time and just copy someone? That seems unlikely, but I think I'll cling to it. It makes me feel more real. At least that way someone actually lived my life, even if it wasn't me. 20. We finally found it. This has to be the Obelisk control room. Fortunately, the consoles were similar to the ones in the control center that I've used before, so I was able to help Santiago get started. He's been working on it for a while now, muttering and cursing to himself the whole time. I can't blame him. This is some baffling shit we've... Ha! No way! He just said he cracked it. It certainly sounded like he did too. There was a loud hum and... oh, those are roars. Lots of roars. Time to run then. I'll finish this later. 21. Right as Santiago finished hijacking the obelisk, the station unleashed a horde of creatures in self-defense, so we blasted the controls and ran like hell. Fortunately, Mei Ying's battle instinct brought her back to reality just in time. She led the charge through a throng of fangs and claws, while Santiago and I did what we could as we raced to keep up. Even though Santiago had prepared the platform for a quick getaway, it was a close call. I had to pull him through the portal just before it closed, but in the end we made it. We were covered in guts, still a bit twitchy, but we made it. Truth. What a day. I need a pint. The world's longest nap. Stat. So, in order to understand the end of the story, we're going to go over some other things in Elena's notes up near the end when they leave Aberration. 22. You'd think I'd be more enthused. We saved the village. I confirmed the true nature of these space stations. And when the Gateway project is complete, we could actually escape this madness. It's all good news, really, so why am I not thrilled? I tried sketching some wildlife we spotted on the way back to the village, but I stopped halfway through. What's the point? In the desert, I told myself it was a form of self-expression, but is it really? If a machine created me to behave a certain way, am I expressing myself or the will of the machine? I really need that pint. Maybe several. 24. We got another call from the village, but this one wasn't celebratory. In fact, best we can tell, it was a distress call. Santiago couldn't quite clear up the signal, but it had some sort of tone. We heard Diana's voice, panicked shouts, and someone mentioned Rockwell. 25. I'd feared we'd be too late, but I never expected the village to suffer such complete devastation. There were bodies and debris everywhere. I nearly retched at the sight. In the distance, I could just make out the culprit, a colossal, violet figure disappearing into the cavern's depths. We raced to find Diana, but by the time we arrived, there was nothing we could do. She died of her wounds in Mei Ying's arms. Somehow, still smiling, however, before she passed, she was able to tell us the identity of the monster that had done this. His name was Edmund Rockwell. 30. The gateway is set to be complete tomorrow, so last night I packed up my things and prepared to say my farewells. Santiago protested, but ultimately understood. Mei Ying, on the other hand, I've never seen her break down like that. It caught me completely off guard, as did the part where she wouldn't let go of my wrist. She kept saying that she'd already lost too much, and that she couldn't lose anything else. I couldn't just leave after that, even if I could break free of that iron grip, which I doubt I could. So that pretty much settled it. Tomorrow, the gateway will open, and we will touch down on the planet below. We'll finally escape this mad experiment, and we'll do it together. Alright, so now we're finally gonna get to the Santiago notes on Extinction. I'm not gonna read it all, just the important bits. If you want to read it all, there's gonna be a link in the description down below for the wiki. I would also like to take a second to say if you made it this far, you must like the video in some way. So I ask you to please give me a like. It will help me out a lot. And if you're also curious, check out my solo and my daddy and daughter series. Maybe you might like those too. And hopefully, maybe, I could convince you to subscribe. Santiago's logs, number 1. Some people feel like we're back to square one, but objectively, we're not. We've got tech equipment, supplies, some tamed animals, and a decent number of human assets. That's plenty of tools at our disposal. All I need is for people to give me some space and let me think. This is just another code that needs cracking. 2. I think we found a decent spot to set up shop. That crater up ahead should have everything we need. Mei Ying scouted it out with some of her pets, so that's at least one other person who isn't panicking. Not that I expected her to after she took the suicide out of that suicide mission back in the station. Dee really knew how to pick a winner. 3. According to that biologist, Helena, people from my time are the most advanced humans on those stations. That means they couldn't have been built too far in the future, and last I knew the Federation and Yuri were still stuck on Earth. It wasn't for the lack of technology, just the usual suspects, politicians. 4. Construction on Camp Omega is going well. Things usually do when I have a project to focus on. I prefer something more challenging than living quarters, stables, and basic defenses, but this will keep me busy for now. I'm the de facto leader of this outfit these days. I realize that. No one else still among the living is qualified, so fine, I'll do the job. I just can't stand being bothered with every little disagreement or emotional breakdown. I've got real work to do solving real problems. That's why I made the Federation set me up in that mountain villa as part of my contract. My little hideaway with just me and whatever puzzle they needed me to solve. It was perfect. I had a great sound system too, assuming my memories are real anyway. 5. Tried chatting with Helena about this Earth situation. Smart girl, probably smarter than anyone else I've met here, but I think she has a hard time telling when I'm just messing with her and when I'm just being a jerk. Not her fault. There's a reason why the Federation suits only visited me when they absolutely had to. Didn't matter how high ranking they were. I never minced words with any of them. I knew they'd have to take it. They needed me. So yeah, I can be a pain to deal with. Unless you're someone like Dee. She may not have been an engineer or a scientist, but she had a PhD in talking shit. Miss that ginger lunatic. 6. Camp Omega is basically up and running, complete with a functioning infrastructure, and we've got resources to spare. Lots of them. The surface of this planet is brimming with element. After just a couple expeditions to the edge of the waste, we've practically filled our storehouses. I'm not even sure what we're going to do with it all. I'm not sure how there's this much of it. Element wasn't nearly this common in our time. Granted, all the element that those stations are made of had to come from somewhere. 9. The situation's changed on us yet again. We saw some big monsters in those caves, but those guys we spotted a few hours ago dwarf all of them. It's not even close. Add the mechanized drones we've been dealing with, and all of a sudden our firepower seems pretty underwhelming. I wonder if those behemoths are the result of the element mutation. Depending on how you look at it, that would make them my problem in more ways than one. Fine then. If they're a problem, I'll just make a solution, same as always, and I won't do it by dismissing my identity. I'll lean into it. Yeah, I've got just the thing. It's interesting how the worst circumstances are always the catalyst for my best ideas. Giant bipedal battle mechs. When I told everyone that was my big idea, I'm not sure what I got more of. Blank stares or nervous laughter. I think the ones that were laughing hoped I would join in. I didn't. Hey, I get it. I know how it sounds. It's just like I said though. If I'm going to accept my identity as Santiago, then I may as well lean into it. If the original me engineered Armageddon into reality with crazy high-tech weaponry, then I'm going to reverse it with an even crazier high-tech weapon. Some people may call that fighting fire with fire, but I call it fighting a small gun with a much bigger gun. 11. Turns out no one else has had a better plan, so the wheels are in motion. I've already got teams working on the hangars and gathering resources while I hammer out the schematics. Building these mechs is going to be one of the hardest things I've ever done, maybe the hardest. With the Gateway project, I could use the Obelisk as a blueprint, but these are all me. Luckily, I have an eidetic memory. I can call on everything I studied about robotics, so I'm not starting from scratch. Besides, this is my true love. They say constantly crunching away on a big project will make anyone burn out, but for me it feels like a dip in a Lazarus pit. I live for the grind. 13. I designed these mechs to make the most of our resources, so while alone, they're devastating fighting machines. Together, they're more than the sum of their parts, and I mean that literally. We have the resources to make 4 of them, but when they're all in close proximity, they can fuse into an even more powerful mech, a mega mech. The number of assets we have with any piloting experience at all is practically nil, so I focused on making the controls as accessible as possible. I landed on a combination of Neuralink and gyroscopic full-body motion sensors for what I call beta-level piloting. Basically, once they're linked up, the mech will mimic the pilot's movements and an automated system will handle the messy details. But because I just can't help myself, I also added an array of hard light consoles and a stronger connection to the nervous system for alpha level piloting. He later went on to recruit 4 pilots to operate his new machines, and due to my incredible ability not to pronounce names properly, bear with me. We got Lee Mei-yin, Helena Walker, Takiya Kazuma, and lastly himself. 18. Mech Pilot Evaluation, Final Candidate, Santiago. Outside of testing, I rarely want to use anything. I engineer. Part of it is that my ideas are never exciting to me once they're realized, like I got it out of my system. But I also think it ruins the purity of it. Great painters don't hang their own work on the wall, do they? Unfortunately, this time, I don't have a choice. I know the mechs better than anyone, and only Helena has a better sync rating. That's probably because I tested the synchronization system on myself. Stupid mistake. Looks like my workload just doubled. 19. Now that construction has reached phase 3, I need to have a lot more FaceTime with our top candidates. The mechs will still be usable by anyone, but if we can get them specifically tuned to their primary pilot preferences and behaviors, we can maximize their combat efficiency. Plus, they have to get used to actually controlling them. After some time and testing and training, things soon turned really bad. 29. It's too soon. They found us too soon. Those big monsters we saw, the ones that prompted this whole mech project in the first place, there's some of them heading towards Camp Omega, and they're bringing a legion of help. Mechanized drones, mutated animals, the works. We're moving as fast as we can, but even working around the clock, we have to face them down with just one active mech, 2 tops. The others will be close, but we can't skimp on the final boot-up procedures without endangering the pilot. I know those 3 would be willing to risk that, but I'm not. Why did it have to be now? Another day and a half when we'd be able to link up. We were that close. 30. 1 mech, that's all we got, and it's only because I've been using my own machine for beta testing. There's no way I can take all of them, even with infantry support. But if I launch now and get their attention, I can lead them on a chase until the others are ready to go. It's a shame. We don't have the resources to replace my mech, and without it, my final masterpiece will never take shape. I'd have liked to seen it, but more than that, I'd have liked to experience that moment where we're all fused together for real and our bizarre little squad becomes the most powerful team the world's ever seen. But if it means giving these idiots a chance to survive this, then I'll give it all up. Because in the end, those are my idiots. In turn, Santiago sacrificed himself to save everyone else. But there's a little bit more to his story yet. After Elena became Homodeus, he resurrects Diana and helps guide her to Mei Ying and eventually to Santiago's mech. Diana log number 2. Right before things went crazy, Santiago mentioned something about human cloning chambers over the radio. That's the only explanation for this comeback tour of mine that makes any sense. I'm a clone. So does that mean I'm just a copy of the original? Or is it possible that my conscience was stored somewhere and then put into a new body? This is so weird, especially since it's never happened to anyone before. We lost plenty of people back on that station, but none of them ever came back to life. Death was a one-way ticket, period. So why am I the only exception? Is it that voice? Did it do this to me? Okay, that's creepy. The voice just answered me. It said yes. 6. They were here, no doubt about that. They're scoring from tech weapons all over, and while I can't pin down exactly how old they are, the gaps they burned in the foliage mean they're not ancient. The caliber on some of these are huge though, way bigger than a rifle. Don't tell me Santiago built a freaking tank. Guess I'll find out soon enough. The tugging on my mind is growing stronger. Something's nearby that the voice wants me to see. Whatever it is, I better take a careful approach. I'm not exactly brimming with firepower, and I don't have my gift for taming animals. So I'm all alone here. Can't afford any dumb mistakes. 7. You really outdid yourself with this mech, Santiago. Even busted up, slumped up against a building. It's one impressive machine, and it looks like you made sure it went down swinging. Would have been a blast to put it through its paces together, like we did with that tech armor when we first met. It's not right that you died here all alone. After everything you did, the Gateway Project gave us hope for the future, and you made it possible. Honestly, I'm not sure why the voice would bring me back and not you two. It doesn't seem fair. Now said voice is saying sorry over and over again in my head. So, it must have tried. Well, don't worry. Mysterious ethereal whatever you are, one miracle's enough. For both you and Santiago, I'll make it count. Bank on it. It took a beating, but with a little more work, I think I can get this beauty running again. It won't take long to get used to the controls either. They were clearly designed so that even someone without a single hour in a simulator could take the wheel on a more basic level. But there's a lot of advanced settings here too. I'll have it dancing like a 50-ton ballerina in no time. It's enough to make a girl giddy. Santiago, if you were here right now, I'd kiss you. You certainly deserve more than that grave I made for you. So I'll just have to pay my respects by showing off what your last brainchild can really do. I hope you're watching. So, Elena kept saying that she was sorry. She can't resurrect him. I don't think he died here. Although maybe he did. I don't really know. But Diana said she made a grave for Santiago. She didn't mention a body to go in it in any circumstances. When she found the mech, she didn't mention the body. Although it could be just, I'm thinking maybe there was no body, but there might have been some blood, so she just assumed he died. That's a possibility. Anyways, I think we'll figure out more in Genesis Part 2. I'm willing to bet on that. I'm thinking he might be one of the survivors that pop up out of the Genesis simulation. So he could have been there. Who knows? I'm just speculating. But it was really cool to kind of learn about Santiago and figure out who this guy was and going through the wiki. And like I said, it'll be in the link down below. And if you wish to carry along on my ARC YouTuber journey or anything, join Discord. It's also in the link in the description below. And thanks for watching. Check out some of my other content. Feel free to subscribe. And either way, you have yourself a good one. And hopefully I'll catch you around.